You need to understand that she isn't doing this to annoy you or pick a fight. She overthinks because her natural intuition is highly attuned to pick up on microsignals that men completely miss or easily ignore. Because women are physically and emotionally more vulnerable, nature gave them a heightened radar for changes in their environment. If she senses even a tiny drop in your warmth or attention, her internal radar instantly goes off. Her mind begins to scream questions like, is he pulling away from me? Did I do something wrong? Is he losing attraction? Or is something changing between us? Her overthinking is actually a primitive defense mechanism designed to protect her from the agonizing pain of being blindsided by emotional neglect or abandonment. She tries to anticipate every single negative outcome and analyze every scenario beforehand so that she won't be caught off guard if things go wrong. Her anxiety is essentially an early warning system, a way of trying to find certainty and safety in a moment where she feels a lack of emotional clarity from you. This is exactly where most men completely blow up their own relationships. Because when a woman starts voicing these anxious thoughts and overanalyzing a situation, the average guy gets instantly defensive, irritated, and impatient. He will roll his eyes, sigh in frustration, and say things like, "You're completely crazy. You're making things up. You're being totally dramatic," or "You're overthinking nothing." But you need to realize right now that telling an anxious woman that she is being crazy or dramatic is like throwing pure gasoline straight onto a raging fire. It completely validates her worst fears because to her, your irritation looks like you are hiding something or pushing her away, which only amplifies her panic and sends her mind spinning even faster. She is not looking to start a logical debate with you. She doesn't want you to present a courtroom defense of why her thoughts are wrong. And she definitely doesn't want to lecture on how irrational she is being. In that exact moment of panic, she is simply looking for deep, genuine emotional reassurance to quiet the loud storm raging inside her mind. The only way to break this cycle and lead her back to a state of peace is by refusing to match her anxious energy with your own frustration. Instead of snapping at her or shutting down into a cold silence, you must learn to listen with total masculine calm and offer clear, completely transparent communication. When she brings up a worry, look her directly in the eyes, acknowledge how she is feeling, and give her a grounded, honest explanation without a shred of attitude. If you were just tired from work, tell her that calmly. If you were distracted by a problem, let her in on it. When you communicate with absolute transparency, you completely starve her overthinking of the mystery it needs to grow. You actively rewrite her anxious patterns by showing her that her fears do not match reality. Always keep this golden rule locked in your mind. A woman only overthinks because she deeply values the relationship and cares about your connection. The day she stops overanalyzing you, checking in, and worrying about your shifts in tone is the day she has completely checked out and stopped caring about you altogether. Treat her overthinking as a profound sign of care. Take it as a compliment disguised as chaos, and use your calm stability to lead her safely back to peace. Let's shine a bright light on the sixth major pattern, which is one of the most heavily misunderstood emotional needs in the entire dating world: a woman's deep craving for validation. If you want to understand how a woman operates, you need to realize that validation is the absolute emotional fuel that keeps her heart invested and keeps the entire relationship running smoothly. Men and women simply do not view validation the same way. As a man, you are generally content to know you are doing a good job without needing a pat on the back every single day. You show your love by executing your duties, providing, and simply being there. But a woman's emotional ecosystem requires consistent reassurance to stay healthy and vibrant. She needs to know with absolute certainty that her appearance, her daily efforts, and her very presence still hold immense value to the man she chose to give her life to. She needs to know that she hasn't just become a comfortable piece of furniture in your life, but that you still see her, still desire her, and still appreciate everything she brings to your table. The exact moment your validation runs dry is the exact moment the slow poison of insecurity begins to creep into her mind. When you stop noticing the things she does, when you take her presence for granted, or when you become emotionally lazy and unavailable, her mind immediately interprets your silence as a loss of interest. Because most women will not come right out and say, "Hey, I feel insecure. Please tell me I'm pretty and appreciated." She will instead start dropping subtle, indirect hints that you must learn to read. She will suddenly start asking seemingly innocent questions like, "Do you like this dress?" Or "Do I look okay tonight?" She might drastically change her hair, try on a new style of makeup, or go completely out of her way to cook you an incredible meal, all while watching your face like a hawk to see if you even notice. If you remain completely blind to these signals, she will pivot to the opposite extreme and turn unusually quiet, retreating into her shell and pulling her warmth away. These aren't random behavioral shifts, they are loud emotional distress signals. She is literally waving a red flag, begging you to remind her that she still matters to you and that her efforts are actually making you happy. Now, let's make something very clear so you don't get this twisted. Providing validation does not mean you turn into a weak, needy pleaser who showers her with fake, exaggerated praise every single hour of the day. Doing that is an absolute relationship killer because it screams desperation, kills your mysterious masculine edge, and creates a highly toxic emotional dependency where she constantly drains your energy just to feel good about herself. Instead, true masculine leadership requires you to master the art of genuine, completely spontaneous appreciation. It is about training your eyes to actually notice the small details and having the strength to voice them before she ever has to ask. It means looking at her while she's just sitting there and saying, "You look incredibly beautiful today." It means stepping up, wrapping your arms around her after a long day, and telling her, "I see how hard you work for us, and I want you to know how much I truly value having you by my side." These simple, well timed moments of raw, authentic recognition completely ground her soul. They act as an emotional anchor that instantly silences her inner doubts and makes her feel completely secure in your world. You must never underestimate the profound power of a validated woman. When a woman feels genuinely seen, deeply appreciated, and consistently valued by her man, her natural feminine energy completely flourishes. She will automatically become incredibly nurturing, intensely affectionate, and fiercely supportive of your goals because she wants to pour her best self back into a man who pours into her. She will actively look for ways to make your life easier and peaceful. But when you choose to ignore her need for validation, when you take her for granted and leave her feeling invisible, she will eventually go completely cold. She won't pull away out of anger or pride. She will pull away out of pure, unadulterated emotional exhaustion. She gets completely tired of throwing her energy, her beauty, and her efforts into a black hole that gives absolutely nothing back. Always remember this. A wise man knows that taking a few seconds out of his day to make his woman feel seen is the ultimate key to keeping her close, keeping her loyal, and keeping the passion alive. Let's lock in and talk about the seventh and final pattern, because this is the absolute danger zone where the vast majority of relationships crash, burn, and completely fall apart. A woman's intense struggle with accountability. We need to be completely direct and brutally honest about this dynamic, because it is something almost every single man faces, yet almost no one knows how to handle correctly. Taking true accountability requires cold, objective, logical reflection. The ability to detach from how you feel, look at the cold facts of a situation, and admit that you were wrong. But because women process conflict through the lens of emotion first and logic second, owning a mistake can feel like an incredibly threatening, terrifying experience for them. When an argument breaks out and a woman's feelings get deeply hurt, her internal emotional state completely takes over her brain. In that exact moment, Her mind will instantly rationalize that because she is the one feeling pain, she must be the victim of the situation. This emotional bypass causes her to completely block out the objective facts of what actually happened, leading her to shift the blame onto you, bring up past arguments from 6 months ago, or avoid taking any responsibility whatsoever just to protect her fragile ego from feeling exposed or wrong. You have to realize that if you make the mistake of attacking her, pointing your finger, or aggressively demanding an immediate apology while her emotions are still running at an all time high, you are guaranteed to completely blow up the entire situation. The second you corner her and try to logically force her to admit fault while she is still emotionally activated, her survival instincts will kick in, and she will do nothing but dig her heels in, get completely defensive, and fight you to the bitter end. She perceives your logical attack as a threat to her safety, so she will scream louder or shut down completely just to protect herself. Instead of playing into this toxic loop, true masculine leadership requires you to completely disarm her defense mechanisms by actively modeling accountability yourself. When a disagreement happens, instead of trying to win the argument, have the confidence and inner strength to calmly step up and admit your own minor flaws or part in the miscommunication first. By looking at her with total composure and saying, "Hey, I shouldn't have snapped at you earlier. That's my fault, and I apologize for that part." You do something psychological. You completely strip away her excuse to fight. By taking the first step and showing her what accountability actually looks like, you completely shift the entire dynamic of the room. At the exact same time, you must pair this humility with absolute, unshakable masculine strength by setting firm, respectful boundaries, ensuring you never let her walk all over you or completely disrespect you. Holding a woman accountable does not mean you raise your voice, get emotional, or start scolding and lecturing her like an angry parent talking to a child. Doing that only kills her attraction for you and makes her resent you. It means you stand your ground like a man, stay perfectly calm, and firmly refuse to accept toxic behavior or blame shifting. When she finally sees that you are completely unshakable, and she realizes that admitting her own mistake will not result in you attacking her, mocking her, or saying, "I told you so," a massive weight lifts off her shoulders. She will realize that her ego is completely safe with you, causing her to drop her defensive walls entirely. She will naturally look at your calm example, mirror your masculine maturity, and willingly step up to take total responsibility for her actions, transforming a toxic battlefield into a moment of deep connection and mutual respect.